Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
Hello, welcome to Lead Pedal Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge. This is episode number 1010, and we got a trucker musician to share with you today. We're going to be talking to GM Blacktop, and if you don't know that name, you probably did if you've ever been to the Fergus Truck Show. Anyway, we'll talk to GM about his career, his music, and much more, so stay tuned. Okay, folks, are you an owner-operator looking for a place to call home? Well, Rims Transport is based out of Hamilton, Ontario, and that's right. They are a place, owner-operator fleet only. They run flatbed out of Hamilton, and they don't run much more than 500 to 700-mile radius. So if you're looking for a place that you can get back home on a regular basis, you can get good miles, they have a great culture for owner-operators, and they want you to succeed, then Rims Transport's the place to do that. Where can you learn more? Go to rimstransport.com. Make sure you tell them that the Lead Pedal Podcast sent you, and we want you to be successful. We know them personally over there, and we know they're going to take good care of you. You got open board, you've got tandem US, you got multi-axle US, you got city, you got all kinds of positions available there, all owner-operator fleet. So if you want to be successful for 2023 and beyond, then get on with Rims Transport and tell them we sent you. All right, everybody, talk to you later. Go to rimstransport.com. All right, so GM Blacktop is a musician, owner-operator. Has been doing this for a long time, had a big music career. If you remember back to the Fergus Truck Show, you may have seen him play. He had some pretty big stages. He plays a lot of music to do with life on the road, and reached out to me recently. We did a podcast episode together, and if you want to hear his whole, the same interview, but with his music, then I suggest you go over to mixcloud.com, Lead Pedal Radio. On our radio side, we have that in the studio. We put that out last month. But anyway, we're going to talk to GM about his career, about his trucking, about what he's doing, and how you can be involved in that. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey folks, have you heard about the Chrome Supply Warehouse? That's right, this is one of the best chrome shops located in Belleville, Ontario. Exit 538 right off of the 401. I can tell you what, just go north, look for the blue glass building, which you can see right off of the highway. They got parking for 100 trucks, and they got every single type of chrome you want for your truck. Whether you're looking for interior parts like steering wheels or seats, whether you're looking for exterior parts like full fenders, or whether you're looking for custom parts like that cool grill or bumper, they can get it for you. Don't forget the lights, don't forget the cleaning products, don't forget all of that kind of stuff, because it's all right there in one spot. In fact, their shop is almost bursting at the seams. So where do you go? You can go online to chromesupplywarehouse.com. You can check them out on their social media on Instagram, Facebook, or you can just drop in if you're going by. Belleville's located halfway between Toronto and Montreal. Drive in, exit 538, north side of the highway. Look for the big glass blue building. Tons of parking for trucks. They'll give you a coffee and a water, and you will have one of the best trucks on the road with their parts. They are determined to make sure that you look good. Make sure you tell them that the Lead Pedal Podcast sent you, and we'll see you next time. All right, everybody, on the line, I got GM Blacktop, which is a fitting name for somebody who's trucking and also a musician. Welcome to the show, GM. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Bruce. It's awesome to be here.
I'm excited. Now, you and I connected kind of online, and we talked the other day, and I didn't realize you were Canadian. So you want to tell us where you're born? You're living in the States now, but you said you're originally Canadian.
Yeah, I'm actually a haw eater, which is somebody that's born on the Manitoulin Island.
Oh,
I grew up in northern Ontario, but with me being a trucker for 25 plus years, most of my adult life I've spent in the U.S. either trucking, or years ago I had a trucking company. I had a visa for the U.S., so I had a trucking company in the U.S. in Memphis, and so most of the time I've spent in the U.S. But I'm in Canada a lot nowadays too.
Oh, great. Well, listen, actually, you're in the province of Quebec. So I don't know if you're French speaking, but my wife Carmen, who's answered the phone, is from Quebec. So you can get into. Well, I'm not French.
Je parle français un petit peu.
Yeah. That's what you know. What the problem is? I'm the same. Je parle petit peu français, and when you say it really well, people think you actually speak French. I go, no, that's the only line I know. I don't.
Yeah. Well, what I actually said there was I speak French just a little bit.
Well, I can say my name. I can order a meal, and I can take basic directions, and that is about it. I've tried. I used to be really good at it back when I was running into Quebec on a regular basis. I was kind of getting good at it. And of course, Carmen and I had just gotten together, so I was trying a little harder. And now for the last 15 years, I go down like once or twice a year, and everybody knows English, so they're not even trying.
I can definitely say my name. I can definitely order a meal, but I have an ex-wife that says I don't take basic directions.
They all say that. It doesn't matter who you are. I was talking trucking directions, not marriage directions, which are totally different directions. Just so you know. Anyway, okay. So now you're actually sitting in Montreal right now. So now you live in the States now. You're in Michigan, I think you told me.
Yeah, I spend most of my time in Michigan, but I go back and forth. Honestly, I go back and forth. Yeah.
Okay.
I got connections in Michigan, but I've also got connections in Ontario. I go back and forth, and with my trucking, I'm on the road quite a bit. So
yeah. So what are you doing today? You said you had a small fleet before. I know you're sitting in Montreal with a load of whatever now. So what do you do now? You run
now. I have one truck. Yeah, I have one truck. I'm an owner operator on one truck. I used to have a fleet. Yep. Back in 2008. There was the United States went through a tremendous, almost like we just went through, tremendous fuel price increase back in 2008, and it wiped out like thousands of companies. And I was unfortunately one of the guys that got drug along in that. So, but I've got one truck and I haul produce. I haul vegetables.
Okay, so you're running like Florida all the time? Is that what you do?
No, sometimes I run Florida, but sometimes I just run Windsor, Montreal, Detroit. Just. Okay. All areas, Georgia, Lately in the last few weeks, I've been focusing more on Montreal.
Okay, very cool. Well, maybe come down to Expo Cam if you're there at the end of the month. May 25th is Expo Cam. We're going to be down there. That's the truck show for Quebec. So maybe you'll be in the area.
Isn't that where they lift? They do the truck pulls too, and they get the front end of those trucks right off the ground.
No, that's Rodeo de Camion. That's up by New Liskeard. That's I think August 8th.
I've never been there. I'd like to go there sometime.
I haven't been to that one either. That's on the bucket list. Expo Cam is kind of it's like Truck World, but it's the Quebec one. It's put on by Newcom, and they go to Quebec every other year. So they're in Quebec this year. So we'll be there. It's beautiful. Kind of an inside industry show.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I've never been to that. I'd like to go.
So while you're in Montreal, there's lots of stuff to do there. So I'm sure you'll get in all kinds of trouble down there, and I won't ask you about that. Let's keep this clean for the listeners. So now you've been trucking, and you were saying you've been trucking for 25 years. Tell me, what have you noticed? There's been big changes, right? I started in '82, stopped driving in 2006 professionally. So I see a lot of change. I'm still very involved in the industry. What are you seeing out there from a Canadian perspective? Maybe what's going on in the industry? Is it getting better or worse, or not at all changed?
Well, I think everything's changing. Back when I first started, it was the early 90s. And I think what happened back then was there was a much larger camaraderie between drivers back then. And of course, there was a much more loose, I don't want to call it loose, but it was definitely a looser logbook system on the paper logs. So you could actually run with your friends and stuff like that because you could just have to adjust your book. Nowadays, everything's so stringent that you're just a slave to the ELD. Yeah. So you can't do what you want anymore. And even the CB radio doesn't get used as much anymore either.
No, and I'm a big fan of CB radios. I have one in my pickup truck. I've always been a big fan of them. They say I think any driver that's been around for a long time could tell you that it's helped or saved them at least once or twice. For me, I can certainly verify that too. So yeah, it's a shame because that's what I think the new people. I still work at some of the training schools and help out there, and I find the new people they don't care. They're just looking for a job. They're just looking for the money. They're don't want the like you said, the camaraderie of the industry. We had a ton of fun on the road, and I don't think we had any more. Sure, there was a lot of incidents, but not anymore because of the fun. It was just, there's always going to be a driver that gets into trouble sooner or later. So that's a shame.
Yeah. I like I said, I think that the maybe it was by design for all we know, but yep. I think that the rules forced it sort of tamed the industry down to the point where now it's all just business. Whereas as opposed to before, there was a real life there with your yep. friends and at some point girlfriends on the road and all this neat stuff. Where nowadays it's just all business,
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I mean, I did have the girlfriend on the road, but all my friends today came from the trucking industry. And, and I was just at an event the other day, a conference, and all you can see, people are just, they all say the same thing. They go, man, it's the people that keep you in this industry. Like there's so many, we're a large industry, but everybody knows everybody. And it's a pretty cool industry. Let's talk about your music. When did you start? Was that always something that you did as a kid, or is it something that you started once you were driving? When did you start your music career?
I think I was playing guitar before I was driving, but I found that, and I was in bands before I was driving when I was in high school and, that age time, that era. But I think I started to write when I started to drive. And I think what happened there was I found there was so much time on my hands, and I'm a Libra. So I was a bit of a creative dude. And then one thing led to another, and then life started to happen, where you have maybe some issues in life, marriage, a child, blah, blah, blah. So it got to the point where I had a lot to write about. Right. And not just good things either, even like when my marriage broke up and that kind of thing. A lot of things to write about there, a lot of things to write about missing my son. I have a song called Sunday, which is Sonday.
Okay.
And that's about, a sort of a long distance father. So I think that I was able to become a prolific writer in that. For me, I guess it was almost kind of like therapy, my own personal therapy. Right. And I started writing, like over 100 songs,
Yeah. That's good. That's amazing. It's funny. Nobody wants to go through the bad stuff, but I was listening to a country station the other day, and the artist on there said, you know what? I wrote this song, and it's one of their most popular songs when I was in my darkest times, when I was drunk, and I wouldn't change it for the world because I wouldn't have written that song. So sometimes going through those bad parts of our lives are actually what inspires, some great work afterwards. So what do you primarily write about? I know the one I was just listening to is all about being on the road. I thought that was pretty cool. Is it just trucking songs that you do, or what kind of music would you classify?
No, I think that trucking songs is my base, and that's, I don't even want to call them trucking songs. They're most of them, a lot of them, are trucking songs, but I guess I kind of like to write about the highway and life on the highway.
Yep.
And because I do it in a truck, a lot of the songs happen to, reflect that.
Yeah.
But I also write about love and my kid, and good love and bad love, and short shorts, and some of my songs from the earlier days I wrote about that kind of thing a little bit.
Yep.
So it's kind of country rock. Some of it's rock, some of it's slow ballad, and I've found that because I'm a lifestyle performer, that the listener, they don't really care what I write, they don't really care what genre it fits, right, as long as they like it lyrically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the genres are mixing anyway, right? I think it's funny when you talk to people, being on the radio, and I do DJ at events and stuff, and people go, I don't listen to country. And then the first song they ask for is like a Shania Twain. And I go, country, right? It may be new country or older country, depending on what it is. But it's funny. I flipped over the country. I was born in the early 60s. So, of course, by the time I was a teenager, I was in the 70s. So, of course, all the hard rock and Queen and Kiss all of those guys are my favorite. But I started driving truck in the 80s, and that's right when Garth Brooks and all them were coming out with their stuff. And you start learning about the old country. And now I'm a big fan of old, like George Jones and all that. Is just, I love all of that stuff, right? So it's pretty fun to see how it all comes in full circle. When do you have time to write your trucking? You must be up there, maybe you're enjoying those breaks on the hours of service so that you can write. Is that when do you have time to write your song?
I write. For me, there's no real right time. For me, it just kind of it flows at that moment or it doesn't. But I definitely have wrote a lot of songs over a steering wheel. I know that for sure.
Another one.
I'm the guy in the road that's doing this all the time because I'm writing the song. And then I realized I could use a voice recorder, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, there you go. I know. I have a friend, Robert Stevens. He was on he's a novelist, and he was on the podcast, and he's written tons of, and we got talking. I said, how many shippers and receivers have been killed off in your novel? He said, I can't name that. He says, because it's all built on real life, but he changes the name. So do you find that too? Yours sounds like it's built on what you're going through in your life. Do you ever, do you find that gets to be too much about your life? Like, I mean, that's a lot to share, as an artist and as a driver.
I think that's honestly, Bruce, I think that's one of the things that people like about my music is that it's kind of a no bones music. They know that anything that I've written is in some way attached to my life in some way, I guess you could say. And I guess that's why I, say I'm a lifestyle performer is right. There's not a whole lot of performers actually, if you really think about it, that are actually that write and sing about their life and live their life. In my case, being a trucker, there's not a lot of performers that have that kind of a niche, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. I know of some, and some kind of get in there because they think it's such a big industry that, that's going to, I'm going to get quick money out of that industry. But really, our trucking industry, we kind of stay with our own a lot. Like they know about, like someone like yourself, a lifestyle performer, they're gonna probably relate to you a lot easier than somebody who's come from the outside of the industry and just came up with a song that sounds kind of cool.
I got a story I could tell you about that, but I probably shouldn't tell you about that on the podcast.
Okay, all right. We'll leave that alone then. Yeah, let's keep it clean. So now,
it's clean. It's not like it's dirty. It's just that it was about that exact thing you just mentioned about how some people came in that just tried to take advantage of the industry and it affected things. But we'll talk about that another time.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, because I get a lot of people who come to me that are not in our industry and they've created a product for truckers and they think, sure, it's just going to go. And I go, well, it's not that easy to get into this industry. You may think it's easy, but it's not. You really kind of got to show that you're really there for the right reasons. So it's pretty cool. Now, do you perform anywhere? Where could people see you? I know you said you had a big tour schedule. What's you doing now?
I did have a big one before, and then things got a little bit slow for a while there. After I shut the trucking company down in the U.S., there was a bit of a slow period there. And I think for me, I was just regrouping.
Yep.
And then COVID, of course, definitely slowed things down.
Sure.
So I think that I've been sort of focusing on my new music and kind of my new brand and rebranding. And you and I have talked recently about merch and that kind of thing too. So I think the touring is going to start again, but I think it's going to sort of come when it's time.
Right. Now, what type of event best suits yours? Is it a trucking event, or you're? It sounds like you're a lot of your, what I was listening to was based on trucking, but you're trying not to classify yourself as the trucking guy. I don't think so. What best suits you? Is it weddings? Is it truck shows? Is it car shows? Where would you best fit in there?
I would say if I had to pick one, it would be trucking and trucking shows.
Sure.
But then I think that because my music also talks about the highway, I don't limit it just to trucking shows.
Right.
I'm okay to go to festivals and whatnot that for bike shows that anybody to do with the highway. Sure. I think can appreciate my music, whether it's trucking or bikes or car clubs or whatever the case may be. Right.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great way to do it. And that's kind of where we are too. We, everything relates, whether you're driving in a beautiful Peterbilt down the road or in your favorite Mustang, it still relates, right? Exactly. A lot of times. So, Yeah, that's pretty cool. Where can people find your music? Where should we go to get your music? Is it available on popular platforms or?
Yeah, I just signed up with Indie Tunes. That's INDIETUNZ.
Okay.
So I'm there as well on their platform. I do have some songs on YouTube and Spotify, and I think I'm on Apple and some of those other ones. But I think that in the next several months, I think Indie Tunes is planning on making a bigger presence known with that. So.
Okay. Are they like an? I don't know them. Are they like an agent? They operate as an agent for you, or just as a way of promoting your
more of a record label?
Oh, I see. Okay, perfect.
And they have many artists, and they're out of Ontario as well.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I think that they're going to become an entity. I think that Ken over there does a great job, and he's really good, all about the artists, and I think that we're working on a merch store there, and there's just lots of things in the works there.
Oh, good. Well, maybe I need to connect with them too. Sounds like
that'd be great. You probably should. Yeah.
For sure. Now you were saying that you, how do you produce your albums? You were saying you had somebody with one of the big names actually helping you. Do you use a certain different, production studio, or do you go?
My second CD, the real CD, was produced in Nashville by a man named Dave Fowler, who's been in the industry for many years, and we did it at Jack Gavin's house studio. Okay. And Jack is a drummer, and he did all my tracks on there for drums. He was the lead. He was the drummer for Charlie Daniels' band, and nice. Tanya Tucker's manager, and all the road manager, and all this neat stuff. Okay. So the guys that I had playing on my second CD were all seasoned Nashville guys. In fact, the fiddle player you hear in like Real McCoy and all that, that's Garth Brooks' fiddle player. To this day, he's still on tour with him. That's Jimmy Mattingly.
Okay, yeah.
And he's been with Garth Brooks for 25 years or more.
Wow.
So I had some really great guys. But lately, I've been working with a good friend of mine that we've been friends ever since the days that he was working with me on some of my other music on tour and whatnot. Daryl Gray, he's the longtime bass player for Helix. I don't know if you know that rock.
Oh yeah. Very
yeah. So Daryl produces all of my my latest music in the last several years, and Chris Julke is the lead guitar player for Helix. He does all the lead tracks and whatnot on the productions as well.
So how does an artist connect with? Sounds like, wow, you've got some real seasoned people behind you there. How did you connect with them? Was it through the industry before when you used to tour, or you just look them up you wouldn't look them up in a phone book anymore because there are no more phone books, but if you looked them up in the phone book, how does artists connect with people like that? Is it going to the studio and just looking at the best studio? How would that work?
Well, I think that the way I got hooked up with the guys in Nashville, for example, was I was down there at the time, and I had sponsors, and I guess they saw my because I had semi trucks and everything, with my name on it, and so I guess they saw me as a bit of a maybe we should pay attention to this guy. So we worked out a deal to cut my album there at his place, and then we became friends, of course. And with Daryl, I think I just met him through the industry at a show or something like that, and he actually filled in and did some bass for me on some of my shows, and we just stayed friends. And at that time, Helix wasn't touring as much, so he had more time on his hands. Right. But now they're very busy. So in the last 5 or 6 years, he's been all of my music comes out of his production. Wow,
that's great. Now that you mention it, because you and I, when we were talking previously, you mentioned the Fergus Truck Show that you were there. I think you used to play out by the Budweiser truck that they had like that. Remember that bar? They had like a bar trailer. I guess it was a bar trailer. Yeah. And I think I saw your truck out there. I'd have to go back through my Fergus photos from the day, and I bet you I'm going to look because I bet you I've got a picture of your truck. For some reason I remember you. I don't know if I caught your show or I saw your truck out there, and I thought, when we first started exhibiting at Fergus. I wasn't there as a podcaster. I was there as a caricature artist. I was right across from the food truck, but of course I knew a lot of the people there. But we used to have to stay in a hotel, so we didn't stick around at night for the shows. We did near the end there. I saw Terry Clark and stuff. But I think when you were there, your name is very familiar. It was very familiar when we first connected, and now the more we're talking, I'm going, I think I don't say I know you from back then, but I think I've come across your name and your trailer and all that back then.
Yeah, because we had multiple trucks and trailers. So they were white Peterbilts, all flashy white and purple Peterbilts, and big curtain side trailers that said, and I had a reefer as well, but it said GM Patterson trucker songwriter kind of thing, and so we got a lot of attention with those for sure. And I used to be in quite a few of the rags in Ontario too, as far as the papers and that kind of thing. And I was on, I think I did a couple of TV appearances. And so back in the day, maybe you might have heard of me, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably I was probably still driving back in those days. When I stopped driving was when we started doing those shows. So it's, wow, okay, so it's all coming back full circle. Well, it's now good to finally meet you and talk with you. Yeah. I'm excited for that. And now I have something I can offer you as far as exposure. Yeah. So, I think that's really cool. And I'm looking forward to hearing and digging into more of your music. I only heard a couple songs this afternoon, but I want to get more into that. And we'll be playing that for sure. I really liked what I heard. So what's the next steps? Are you planning on always keeping driving going and then just kind of doing this? Is it viable to make? I look at someone like Tony Justice, who's pretty well up there, but Tony's still driving part time, and he's got a bus and all that, and he's kind of at every show. What's next for you?
I think that guys like me and Tony, we kind of. We'd like to keep one foot in the truck because it validates us, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And validation in this business, especially when you're a writer and a singer and a trucker, validation on all levels is very important.
Yep.
So do I say I'll want to drive forever? Probably not. I'd rather be in a Prevost for sure. I'm sure Tony would say the same. But I think it's important that, if nothing else, I want to stay connected to the industry so that I can continue to validate myself.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny because Tony, I talked with Tony at Matt's last year, and he just got the bus, but it wasn't there yet. So he's still driving, but I follow him, and he's still driving his pickup truck with the trailer behind it. And he's in his truck once in a while. And when he got the Prevost, he's driving the Prevost. So
exactly. Yeah, well, we a friend of mine let me borrow a tour bus once back before, and same thing. I was the one driving it.
Yeah. I think it's just cool to have one. I think it makes it more comfortable while you're sitting around in between sets and all that. And
it does.
That's one thing. I wish I had one just for the truck shows, because my wife is still not comfortable sleeping in a pickup truck. But anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah. Well, pickup trucks don't tend to be the most comfortable beds on the earth. That's for sure.
No, we still have a lot of tents and stuff, and we've thought about getting a trailer, but we're not at us. It's great when you live at a place where you can just store it. We live in a condo, so if I buy a small trailer, I now got to pay for a place to store it and all that. So we're kind of thinking about that anyway. So it's very, very, very cool. So so you're still going on. So okay, do you have a website or Facebook or anything like that people can follow you?
Yeah, I've got the Facebook, which is just GM Blacktop. Okay. I've also got Instagram, which is GM Blacktop.
Okay.
And I have a website, but it's under construction. That's gmblacktop.com, but there's nothing there quite yet. We're in the process of building it. I think you and we recently spoke about me creating a bit of a merch situation. Sure. So we're trying to get a few more things under our belt before we start to launch the website. But it seems nowadays Facebook seems to cover a lot of ground, so
it does, unless they put you into Facebook jail, and then all of a sudden you've lost your views for a while. So it's always good to have something on the outside. We've got Facebook and all that too. But
I'm excited about indie tunes too. I think that Ken's got a great gig there. So
that's great. Well, listen,
now I'm excited about your podcast too.
Oh, you know what? There's lots. We're gonna connect, and I'm glad that you reached out again. We've been doing some email tag or whatever you call it, messenger tag, but no, it's things are busy. We've got a lot, and we're about to start our summer schedule here, which is all the shows. So hopefully, I'm going to run into you and get to meet you somewhere along the way. We'll be everywhere, but we'll be everywhere. I always sound like Hank Snow when I say that, but I'm excited to play your music and get it out there, and we'll be connecting on our socials with your social as well to help. We always like to help a lot of artists. We've got Jamie Taylor and a number of artists that are trucking and up and coming and that kind of thing. And I'm really big on helping creatives because I'm that way too. I was an artist before I was a trucker, and now I'm an artist and a trucker and a media. And it all came from someone saying, "Hey, great job, I'll give you a try." So I'm really big on helping people.
Yeah, and that's very important. And I'm kind of the same way. Like you're an artist in drawing and creation. I'm an artist in writing, so I'm always up for collaborating with people too, and especially people that kind of live a similar life to mine. Yeah. I'd be all over trying to help them out for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny how it all goes. For the longest time, I kept things separate. Oh, some people knew me as a truck driver. Some people knew me as an artist. Now it's all meshed together. I can't keep it separate, and I don't really care. I'm too old to care. Yeah. Old enough to know better, but still too young to care. But no, it's a lot of fun. I love music. It's funny. I was a drummer.
Wade Hayes, right?
Yeah, Wade Hayes. There you go. Good for you. I was a drummer for 2 years in high school, and I quit because I thought you had to learn to read music. Now I find that all my musician friends, half of them don't know how to read music, but I love music. I have a really special gift in my heart for music, and so that's why at least I'm able to promote it this way. So
yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, I mean, there's so many people that have they get a different buzz out of music too. Like some people's buzz is a lead guitar, and some people's buzz is the drums, and some people's buzz is the voice, and some is the lyrics. Yeah. And it's interesting the way everybody's buzz is a different part of the music.
Yeah. And my friend says I got a friend who says whatever music you listen to in your teens is probably your strongest music. He says that's probably what you gravitate to the most. I like all music, and I mean I'm everything from reggae to I like classical. I haven't gotten into opera as much as but I love the oldies, right? So I'm still working on opera. I'll get there maybe. I don't know.
Well, believe it or not, I'm a huge fan of this guy right here. Right, this is TCB Elvis.
Yeah. So
I've been a huge Elvis fan. My mother. Bless her heart, who now has dementia pretty bad, but she was an Elvis fanatic, and I listened to Elvis every day, all day since I was 4 years old. So big influence with Elvis and that.
Yeah, I remember my parents, because they're from Guyana. So I was born here, but they came up the year before I was born. So they weren't big on TV. They played music a lot. And Perry Como, I just came across Engelbert Humperdinck on YouTube the other day, and I'm going, man, I know every song because my parents played that album all the time through the house. So
I love it.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, I'll let you go and enjoy your day. Thank you very much for your time today. Very excited to see where things go with you in the future, and hopefully we can connect. I really would enjoy that and do this in person one day.
I would love that, Bruce. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Hey, drivers, are you getting tired of trying to update that old PDF paper resume that you have? You want to apply to different companies. Maybe you want to show off some of the stuff you've had, like the trucks you've driven or pictures or whatever. You know what? You can't do that on a resume anymore, but you can do that at Driver Verified. Driver Verified is a platform that allows you to create your own unique profile and share your expertise easily with potential employers, insurance companies, anybody that you wish. This thing is so slick. You'll be able to update it. It's free to try. And you know what? Now you've got something that can be updated. You don't have to go back and wonder, where did you put that paper copy? The cool thing is companies can get this as well. And you know what? One of the best ways to be find new employment and find things that are really cool for you is by a company searching you out as opposed to you searching out a company. So why not try Driver Verified today? All you got to do is go to driververified.com and give it a try. It's free to try. You can create a free profile and you can even get a free report. And by the way, if you were talking to the team over at Driver Verified, make sure you tell them that the Lead Pedal podcast sent you. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. See you on the road. All right, so there you go. That's the episode with GM. Go search him out on Facebook. You can find him at GM Blacktop. Watch for his music. You can always hear it here on Lead Pedal Radio. Check out the In the Studio show at mixcloud.com/leadpedalradio. And hopefully you'll see him on the road playing somewhere along the way, or even meet him on the road at a truck stop somewhere. Hey, you know what? Make sure you follow us. We're on our Lead Pedal 1000 tour, so look for us at truck shows and stuff near you. Come over and say hello, get a photo. We're trying to get 1,000 photos. I gotta say, we got some work to do, but we got some big shows coming up, so I'm sure we'll get there. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find us on TikTok. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. We just crossed the 1,000 mark, and we're looking forward to the future. All right, my friends, talk to you later. Be good out there, be safe, and check out In the Studio with GM Blacktop if you want to hear his music. Bye for now.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.